setting a specific goal just takes a little planning and reverse engineering. In the past few episodes, we've talked about how to create a vision and set bold, purposeful goals. But now it's time to do something with them. Now it's time to take that larger dream and break it down into stepping stone goals that are doable and realistic to you so that you'll be more apt to take the action necessary to make them happen. Today, we're going to look at all the dreams you've brainstormed and choose the one that you want most right now, or the one you're feeling God pulling you toward in this season. I'm going to help you shift your mindset in how you see and set goals so that you can actually set yourself up for success from the start to see your goals to the finish line. Welcome to Pursuing Goals God's Way. I'm your host, Gabe Cox, and here we're all about clarifying your goals, planning with purpose, and eliminating distractions. We'll dive into simplified online business strategy and marketing without the pressure of social media or hustle culture. If you've been wondering how to turn your passions into purposeful work or felt overwhelmed chasing big goals while juggling family life, and you're ready to do things differently, allowing God to guide your steps, then keep on listening. Hey, welcome to Pursuing Goals God's Way. I'm your host, Gabe Cox, and I am so excited that you put your earbuds in today to listen in because we are going to shift your mindset just a little bit in how you see and set goals so that you can set yourself up for success from the start to reach that finish line and to do that in a way that honors your capacity in the season that you are in. So, let's just dive in. I want to dive in with a little bit of a story to begin with. When Josh, my husband, and I were newlyweds, we partnered with a multi level marketing company and thought it was our ticket to retirement. We were so excited about it. And I just really thought we could go all in and do something for ourselves. Now, I'm going to preface this story by saying MLMs can work for you. So I am not downplaying them as an option for owning a business. If you are a part of one, if you do some multi level marketing, totally fine. But what I want you to know is that you don't actually own the business if you are in one. The larger company makes the overarching decisions for what stays, what goes, pricing, your commissions, and even if it's going to continue being a company. You are a contractor doing work for them, so you don't really necessarily own the thing. And this is one of the reasons that I've shifted to my own thing online so that I do get to make the calls and take the shots. Anyway, that's not the point of the story. From day one, we went all in and we were sold out to the dream that was seated in our hearts, the dream of financial freedom, the dream of being able to give more, the dream of time flexibility. And we worked hard, really hard. We went to weekly meetings. We spent our evenings pouring into the business after full work days. We went to quarterly conferences out of state. We spent thousands of dollars on products and conferences and all of the things. We did all the things right. Well, we probably didn't do all the things right, but we were doing the right things, right? We did what we were told would produce the results. And we started building a successful business straight out of the gate. But it grew and then it came back down, and it grew and it came back down, and it fluctuated like that for years. We learned so much about who we were as people. We grew in our faith walk and in our marriage. We learned success and business principles we may have never known. And I am forever grateful for the leader I became through it all. I learned how to coach through it as well. But the one thing that I was taught that I no longer agree with, well, there's a few things, but I'm sticking to this one idea for today. So the one idea is that I needed to go all in and sacrifice everything else to see this thing through. Then, once we had what we wanted and the business was built, then we could have the time for our families and have the flexibility to work less and have the finances to do good things for others. Because of this, we lived and breathed the business, leaving our kiddos with our parents so we could go to conferences, not really getting the quality time we wanted with them, not even really seeing each other in the process. Delayed gratification is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not, but delaying life itself, that's not a good thing. This mindset eventually burnt us out and left us feeling less than. I'm not sure if you've felt that way before, but that's where we were at. I was at a sticking point. And I'd like to say that it was only a few years before we dropped our egos and shifted where God was actually calling us. But it was 15 years before we made the change. We didn't want to quit because we were told life would be worse. We had too much pride. We didn't want our friends and family to tell us they told us so. I think that was the pride talking, and that was probably the hardest part. So we just kept on working. We kept plugging away. We kept going around in circles with little to no results. And looking back, like I said, I learned a lot. I'm grateful for certain aspects of growing the business. I'm grateful for certain relationships that I still have to this day because of it. But we stayed too long and we actually were further back than we were ahead. Now, I tell you this story because I want you to throw out the idea that it's either your goals or your family. You do not have to sacrifice everything or delay everything in your life to go all in on your goals. Yes, we want to think about them a lot and we want to go all in a way, but we shouldn't be sacrificing everything and everyone to do it. You can incorporate them into your lifestyle rather than making them your life because that's not true alignment. Alignment is God first, then family, then business. And you need to shift your mindset to this idea. Otherwise, you'll be left frustrated and burnt out, just as I was leaving that first business behind. You do not have to live and breathe your goals in order to bring them to fruition. You just need a personalized game plan that works for your capacity in this season, and you need to shift your expectations to meet that capacity. So, how about we talk about how to reverse engineer your goals? Because this is how you're going to do it. How do you see and set goals so that you can live life to its fullest while pursuing bigger things? Well, we do this by taking your larger vision and doing a little reverse engineering or reverse osmosis, if you will, on your goals. We'll talk about the what, the first few steps of this process in this episode specifically, and then we'll work on crafting a personalized goal strategy in the next with the final steps.
I have a question for you. Do you have a longing in your heart, a dream, if you will, that you've wanted to take action on, but you're scared to take the leap because you're afraid it won't happen? Maybe you're afraid you can't fit it into your life. Maybe it's hard to actually take the time for you to work on it. What if I told you that you could go after a goal that works in the season you're in with the capacity you have, ditching the hustle culture altogether? If you're interested in learning how to take your goal to the finish line and still have the family time that you crave, then you need to register for my free on-demand workshop called The 3 Pillars to Setting and Crushing Goals in a Stressless, No-Hustle Way. In this workshop, you will learn the clarity you need to make your dream real to you without worrying about how it will all come together. How to craft a simplified game plan that gets results in the season of life you're in. The secret sauce to taking action that works, even if you have limited time to make things happen. Plus, the number one mistake people make when goal setting that causes them to quit too soon. If you are more than ready to finally take that desire inside your heart from conception to the finish line, this is for you. You can register for the free workshop at redhotmindset.com/goals. You'll get access to a free workbook to take good notes during our time together as well. Again, that's redhotmindset.com/goals. I can't wait to host you inside.
The first thing that you need to do to shift your mindset in how you see and set goals is to first start with the larger vision in mind. The first thing you want to do is to choose only one of your dreams, the bigger, burlier, bold goals that we talked about, to focus on at a time. You don't want to focus on multiple of those big dreams at a time because that's too much. And I know you might be like, Gabe, but how do I choose which one to do? And honestly, the one I'd pick if I were you is the one that produces the largest and most passionate why in your life, the one that motivates you the most. Which one matters most right now? Which one, if you were to see it to the finish line, would change your life the most? Which one resonates deepest so that you'd be more apt to put the work behind it? That is the one I would pick. Clarifying that end goal is the first step. This is your big vision or overarching goal that you want to achieve. Now, I want you to make sure that it's clear, that it's specific, and that it inspires you because you need those things in order to see them through. But then I want you to take a minute to picture what it looks like to hit that big dream. What will you have achieved? How will you feel? What impact will it have on your life or others' lives? This visualization will help solidify the big goal in your mind and make it feel more tangible to you. So, that first step is to start with a larger vision. The second thing that you need is to reverse engineer that larger vision with major milestones so you have a clear path to follow. We need to break it down a little bit more. Once you've clarified your end goal and pictured what it means for you to achieve it, we'll move into reverse engineering of that larger vision. You want to reverse engineer that larger dream you chose so that you can have a clear path to follow with clear stepping stone goals along the way. That's what I like to call them. This will aid in keeping you motivated and going when the going gets tough. If you only focus on that big dream and work toward that, you will quit because you won't truly see the progress or results along the way. Seeing progress is important. This is why breaking it up into doable, realistic, actionable chunks is key to success. To reverse engineer your dream, we want to first identify major milestones. So divide that big vision into key achievements that need to happen along the way. Now, these are significant checkpoints that indicate progress toward your larger vision and help you to see the physical results. Because who doesn't want to see those? Don't those get you more excited? Don't they get you doing more work, right? I like to call them stepping stone goals. Think about it as 3 to 5 smaller goals that you need to hit along the way to your bigger ultimate goal. So, for example, when I was training for my first marathon, my larger vision was running 26.2 miles all at once. Well, I had never done that before, so it felt like a daunting task. But when I broke it down to the different progressions along the way, it felt more doable. To run 26.2 miles, I knew I'd have to do a training run of about 20 miles. But to get there, I needed to run a half marathon. And to get there, I needed to run a 10K. And before I could run a 10K, I needed to run a 5K. I needed to believe in myself to know that I could do that. And even before that, I needed to run my very first mile. Now, I had that larger vision of a marathon in my mind, but I worked on one piece of the puzzle at a time. Focusing on 1 mile and then 3 miles was way more achievable to me than to wonder how I'd get to 26.2. So, does that make sense? How you can create some stepping stone goals along the way? So that's number two. You want to reverse engineer that larger vision with some major milestones. And then the next step is to determine the timeline for each of these stepping stone goals. So once you've set and created these major milestones or the stepping stone goals, then you'll want to think about what timeline you may need to hit each one. Estimate just a rough timeline. It doesn't have to be perfect for when you expect to achieve each milestone. This will help in planning and provides a more structured path for you to follow. Now, we're going to talk more about this specific step in the next episode, but an example is my marathon training. I followed a 16-week plan that broke these major running milestones down into a doable timeline so that by the end of the 16 weeks, I'd be on marathon day. I'd be in my race at the start line and hopefully making it to the finish line because I had reverse engineered those goals and created different timelines or deadlines to hit each stepping stone goal. Now, the fourth step is to break down those major milestones into even smaller sub goals. So we've already broken it down a little bit, but those are still kind of big chunks. Like thinking about running a half marathon was still a big chunk. I needed to break that down. What does that look like, right? So we have these major milestones figured out, but we're going to break them down into even further, smaller, more intermediate goals, or maybe we call them projects that lead up to that result of the major milestone, right? So the sub goals should be more specific and manageable so that it makes the stepping stone goal even more approachable and doable for you. So the more that you break your goals down, the more confidence you'll have to achieve them. Think of these sub goals more like projects. They should be very action oriented with things that are more in your control. The other thing to think about here is the sequence of events. Are any of these sub goals prerequisites to others? Do any need to be achieved in a progressive order toward that major milestone? Or are they independent of each other and can be worked on in any order? That's something to think about. But when we break it up into these smaller sub goals, it gives us more of a task oriented thing that we can do to hit each goal. The fifth thing that we need to do is develop an actionable steps plan. Okay, so we've gone from that larger vision, we've broken it up into major milestones, and then we've broken it down even further into sub goals or projects. Now it's time to turn those sub goals into those actionable steps. These actionable steps should be things that are fully in your control. So, for example, as I was working on my marathon training plan, the first major milestone was to run a 5K. So I broke that down even further to sub goals of 1 mile without stopping, 2 miles without stopping, and then the 5K itself. My actionable steps were things like run 5 times a week, fuel my body for energy, have a before and after stretch routine. My run 5 times a week started as run 1 minute, walk 30 seconds, and progressed so that I could run straight through. And after you determine those actionable steps, I hope that you can see kind of what that looks like just by that example. Can you kind of see how we're breaking this down? It just keeps breaking down into smaller pieces, like a little puzzle piece that brings that whole vision together. It's almost like you're doing the outer edges. Okay, I love puzzles, but you're doing the outer edges first, and then you find a block that you want to work on, and then the next one, and it starts forming a picture, right? That's progress, that's results. So here's the thing, after you determine those actionable steps, then you can prioritize them based on their importance and urgency. So focusing on the high impact activities that drive the most progress, right? So that's how I want you to think about it. Now let's talk a little bit about how you can change how you see and set goals. So we have these different steps, the steps to reverse engineering your goal. But how do we shift that mindset? Many times we create goals that are numbers focused, like I want 10 new clients in my business this month, or I want to earn an extra $50,000 this year, or I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 3 months. Monetary or numbers based goals are hard to measure because much of the time, those monetary results are out of our control. So I want you to shift your mindset in how you set these goals. That larger vision may be monetary or numbers based, and that's okay. And those larger milestones or stepping stone goals may even be numbers based. But all the things in between, the smaller sub goals, they need to be more projects or tasks or habits within your control. When they're in your control, you will see the progress along the way. You will see the results. And then you will see those numbers based visions or bigger goals come to fruition. But we can't really put a time on that a lot of times. We can put a time on uh, us doing the work. We can set out like, okay, I want 10 clients this month. So what's that going to take? I'm going to have to talk to 100 people to most likely ensure I get 10 clients. So we can do that kind of numbers based work, right? We can do what work am I putting out, but we don't always control what that result is. Now, the other mindset that I want to talk about is the go big or go home mindset. This is the wrong mindset for finish line goals. If you only focus on that larger vision and try to go big all at once, you will get frustrated and quit sooner because it's just not easily attainable. You'll only be looking at the summit, the big mountain, the top, the peak, rather than the steps all along the way. And the true progress when you're climbing a mountain is everything you see along the way. It's every step in your path. It's looking back and seeing how far you've come, right? And we need to enjoy the journey. We need to enjoy the process all along the way. We can do that by focusing on those smaller tasks at hand. Breaking your vision down, reverse engineering your goals into doable tasks will help you stick with it and see the results and progress all along the way. This is how you can incorporate your goals into your life without them becoming your life. Because, friend, when they become your life, you will burn out. This is how you can work on your goals without sacrificing everything else to achieve them. You can still think about your goals a lot. You can still go quote unquote all in with your goal, but you don't have to sacrifice everything. You don't have to forget about everyone around you. You don't have to work like a workhorse to get it done. So here's a reminder of how I want you to see and set your goals. First, start with the larger vision in mind. Second, reverse engineer that larger vision with major milestones so that you have a clear path to follow. Third, determine the timeline for each of these stepping stone goals and when you want to have them accomplished. A rough timeline, we'll call it. Fourth, break down the major milestones into even smaller sub goals. And then fifth, develop an actionable steps plan. Now, if you do this, if you shift your mindset on how you see and set goals, I have no question about you hitting that finish line. If you're wanting some help with this process, then I encourage you to check out Finish Line Goals. If you're sick of not sticking with your goals, or you're sick of the hustle culture and want a different strategy, then my simple Red Hot Goals formula will help you to create a personalized game plan that works for the season you're in with the capacity you have. You can work your goals into your lifestyle without sacrificing everything to achieve them. We talked about that all today. You can break your goals down from your larger vision into small, doable tasks that produce results. Now you can learn more and join us in Finish Line Goals at redhotmindset.com/FLG. Again, that's redhotmindset.com/FLG. And I'll leave a link in the show notes for you as well. I hope this encouraged you today to really shift that mindset in how you see and set goals. And I'd just love to hear how this is going for you. In all things, I pray you just run your race. I believe in you.